What's happening? Hey, everybody. In today's episode, Josh and I are continuing A&G's positional rankings with right wingers. Gone are the days of positional scarcity. Now we've got a stable of studs to choose from, and we're going to give you what you need with our top 10 right wing for category leagues and points leagues. Let's get to biz. This is Apples and Ginos. You are listening to Cream of the Crop. Oh, yeah. Welcome in, everybody. Thanks again for joining us here on Cream of the Crop, a fantasy hockey podcast presented by Apples and Ginos, the number one fruit-based fantasy hockey podcast out there. That's confirmed. Thank you so much for being here. I'm your host, Blake Creamer. Follow me on X/Twitter at Blake Creamer AG. And while you're at it, please give us a follow on YouTube. We are doing stuff over there, and hopefully you're watching this video on YouTube right now. We are closing in on 1,000 subscribers. Oh, my God. So, I think when we have a Discord as well, which I'll talk about in a second. But once we reached 1,000 Discord members there, I did a little giveaway. I gave an Apples and Ginos branded oven mitt to our 1,000th Discord member. He wears it with pride. It's amazing. He cooks his eggs. When he's making a roast, he uses that in there. So that's really nice. So I might do a little giveaway for our 1,000th YouTube subscribers. So do that right now if you can, please. And like I mentioned, we do have an Apples and Ginos Discord, and the link is in the description. You got to get in there. All right. Things are popping off. We've actually got some best ball drafts going on right now. 33 paid leagues so far and counting. This is insane. So yeah, get in there. You've got a draft itch. You can scratch that right in the Discord. We've also got lots of other chat rooms for all kinds of stuff, fantasy hockey related. 1,200 members and counting. So get the biz in there. Appreciate that. Today, I've got my buddy Josh here. We're talking about right wingers. We talked about centers a couple days ago, and now we're getting to biz on right wingers. Joshy, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing well. Those best ball drafts are crazy. I feel like there's some true addicts in there because every time I go in, there's 2 or 3 names that are in every single one. I'm trying to hold back and only have a couple going at a time. Just to exert a little bit of self-control. But there are some people that they're all in, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I'm in like 7 myself that I've done so far. And yeah, it's just, 2 or 3 come out each day and they're like, hey, here's best ball 34. And you're like, should I? Shouldn't I? Yeah. Oh God, they're literally like $5 US. That's the fee to get in. So, yeah. I mean, you're drafting with really smart fantasy managers, but damn, yeah, it's a problem. I don't think we did 33 last year. I think it was, maybe we capped out at like 25, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't even know if we got to 25.
25 feels right, maybe a little bit less, but yeah, it's been absolutely popping this year, which is it's fun. And honestly, if you haven't gotten in one, hop in the Discord and definitely give it a try because it is a good way, especially if you haven't mock drafted or anything yet, to kind of I don't know, scratch that draft itch, shake the rust off. It's a little bit more fun in my opinion than a typical mock draft.
You bet your sweet bippy it is, buddy. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm loving that. And one really nice piece, one of our Discord members, and you might know him from the pod as well, 18 Skaters, Mark Barber. He's got a bunch of different best ball tools that are available to everybody in the Discord. And we're going to end up with our own Apples and Ginos ADP list by the end of this. And that's going to be really awesome because, yeah, you go over to Fantrax, you go over to Yahoo, and they've got their own projections and ADPs, but they're all janked and they always have been, right? Fantrax is usually a little better, but, we're going to have an actual A&G ADP. I'm excited about that. That's something we've never had before. So get in there, scratch that itch. Third time we're talking about itchiness at the start of the pod here. And that's a nice way to start, isn't it, Josh?
Oh, yeah. Itchy. Real itchy.
Very itchy. Get a cream, get all kinds of lotions, rub them on, put the balm on. All right.
That's why they came to watch Cream of the Crop.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a weird. Okay, yeah, I don't know where I don't want to take that any further. Yeah, put this cream on the. Yeah, there you go, buddy. We got to talk about right wingers, and I'm excited about this. This is for the last 2 or 3 years in particular. It's always been right wing is a scarce position in fantasy. You want to try and lock down right wing early, and something we've noticed doing these best ball drafts is that it hasn't really been the case this year. I mean, obviously, you know, you want to get your wingers probably before your centers, right? We're usually fading centers because there's a lot of them available later on. But right wing seems a little bit more, you know, beefy this year. Where are you at? Like, is right wing still a scarce position in fantasy?
I think it still is a relatively scarce position, but I think in previous years there was a bit of a separation between right wing and left wing. There were more left wings available than right wings, and it seems like that has either leveled out or it right wings are actually in some cases in some spots of the best ball leagues a little bit easier to attain than left wings. So I think that there are some young players that are kind of emerging as more significant fantasy assets in the mid rounds that are right wingers, and yeah, we're just seeing them start to flourish and kind of change like just change the orientation of fantasy drafts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, we're going to have lots of draft strategy episodes later on in the off season, but I mean, just at a basic level here, Josh, how do you sort of prioritize your right wingers in the first 3 to 4 rounds of the draft? Like what is
Yeah,
something you kind of like to do when you go into your drafts?
yeah, I'm pretty much a straight Vorp guy. I like to. So it really. I had someone in the Discord ask me about this last night about what my draft strategy was for the cacuffle, and it's kind of just like it really depends on
Hmm.
on where I'm drafting and who's taken around me, who falls into my lap. So I wouldn't say that I specifically like. Obviously, I try to fade centers, and I've been outspoken about trying to shore up D fairly early. At least in like the first 10 rounds, I like to have at least three, but like that's not necessarily a concrete rule of thumb. But yeah, in terms of right wing, I mean, ideally, you get a guy in the first round. There's a few guys that are kind of smash hits in the first round.
Yep.
But if you have one of the first three picks, I don't know that that's necessarily the best way to go about it. So it really my draft strategy changes significantly depending on where I'm at in the draft.
Yep, I've noticed that a lot doing these best balls too. Is like, you know, when I have the fifth, the sixth, or the seventh pick this season, I come out and my teams are like fire. You know, like holy moly, I can't believe I locked this team down. Whereas, you know, when I'm either at the front of the draft or at the back of the draft, that's where it starts to get a little icky for me. So we'll see how that develops this year. But yeah, I'm with you. I do like to lock up wingers. For me personally, I like to lock up wingers early and defense, right? Fading centers, that's, you know, zero C. Is that a thing? It probably was, you know, a thing before zero G was, honestly. So, you know, there's just so many good ones later on. And yeah, you want to lock up these winger positions early. So let's take a look at what we got here. We've myself, Josh, Nate, and Mark Barber have all submitted lists here, our top 10 right wingers in points leagues and category leagues. So we've got our own list and we've made an Apples and Ginos aggregate list. And that's what I'll read to you now. Starting with number 1, we got to go with Nikita Kucherov. It's a no-brainer. You know, this guy's coming off an amazing season, 144 points. He led the league, 100 assists. Sheesh. I mean, this is a crazy, crazy stat line for Kucherov. And there's a lot of things that happened here. Like, I didn't really realize like his ice time went up by like a minute and a half on the season. Like
Mm-hmm.
they are asking him to do everything. He doesn't kill penalties, so he's out there. They really need him at 5-on-5 to crush the other teams, and then he's one of the best power play performers in the league, not named McDavid or Draisaitl. I mean, you know, what do you think about Cooch coming into this year? Do you think he's going to be capable of kind of repeating this performance, and is there any headroom on any of his statistics?
Yeah, I think that he is almost I don't want to say a lock for 120 points, but
Mm-hmm.
he's as close to being there as you could possibly be, unless your name is McDavid or McKinnon. I like that a lot, and I mean he's been a guy that I've kind of projected to get there perennially for quite a few years. Like he's been the number one right wing for a while now. And I think as long as he continues to get the ice time he's getting, like the sky's the limit for this guy. They're definitely he had a pretty significant increase in shot rates last year. I don't know if that will change. He'll have Jake Gensel on his wing, so that's another guy that can shoot the puck. So I mean, there is potential for those to kind of get dialed back a little bit. But I've got him projected for just over 120 points. So not quite at the level of McKinnon and McDavid next year. But I mean, it's certainly possible for him to get back to that level again.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to bet against this guy. He was going around like pick number 9 last year, 9, 10, 11 in the first round. That's insane. I mean, it didn't feel right at that point. And I really feel like that was this injury narrative again. I'm going to rant on it again, everybody, that like, if this guy, I think he's kicked the injury prone tag, right? He has 2 straight seasons of, he missed 1 game in 2 seasons, which is excellent. Yeah. Right. And then was just crushing last year. So I think that was the reason we couldn't really get him, or we could get him at value last year. And then this year, that's kind of off. I think he's going to be probably the 4th guy off the board, maybe 3rd in some formats. Like I've seen people taking him over Austin Matthews, which is an interesting choice. It's not the right one. All right. But Captain Matthews, how are you feeling about your new captain over there, buddy?
Pretty good, man. I think it was the right decision. It sounds like it was as gracefully passed on by Tavares as it possibly could have been. Yeah. So it seems like everything, the vibes are good over there. I can't help but think that it feels kind of like smoke and mirrors, just because they preached that they were going to make massive change and then they barely changed anything at all. But I mean, I'm still okay with the decision. I think Matthews is definitely the captain.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I mean, it's always good when you can get Tavares was in there saying all the right things and whatever. So I do hate to see the captaincy, taken away from a guy while he's actively on the team. That's kind of a weird choice, but I don't know if it's got to go to someone. 69 goal man. All right, that's nice. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on. So Kucherov, obviously number 1, and I think there's an obvious number 2 as well, and that's Pasta Fasul, David Pastrnak. It's an easy one, right? He was going ahead of Kucherov last year on the back of a 61 goal season that he had in 2022-23. Had an interesting year this year. Still cooked for 47 goals, 110 points, like 63 assists. That was kind of a surprise. That's not something that I saw Pastrnak doing this past season. Do you think that these assists are for real? And then, I mean, he's got potentially a new 1C there in Boston with Elias Lindholm. Like, what are your thoughts on Pastrnak this year?
Yeah, I still have him for more goals than assists this season, but I think that I mean, I think it's certainly possible for him to up those assist numbers. They're just I don't know, the teammates around him still don't really excite me. Elias Lindholm, that is an upgraded center, but not significantly, I don't think. But I mean David Pastrnak is he's a lock for your second right wing. He is he's perennially number 2 in shots on goal, pretty much, behind only Nathan McKinnon, just ahead of Matthews usually, or like right in the Matthews realm. And then he's gonna score you 50 goals every single year. So I think David Pastrnak, it doesn't really matter who he plays with. I mean, the power play they have more of a potential to load up a top power play now that Elias Lindholm is there. So maybe that helps Pastrnak, because their power play wasn't as efficient as it has been in years past. So it could be that he can that his assist numbers go up on the power play. But I mean regardless, I think he's the clear cut number 2. We all agreed on that.
Yep, he's a stud. It's weird when I look into Pastrnak, like the 61 goal season he had in 2022-23. I'm wondering if that's like an outlier. Like it's not like Matthews where you're like 60 goals every year. Yep, that makes sense. Like I think that it was just a special season for Boston that year, and Pasta was a major benefactor of that. 47 goals this past year, like that kind of seems more in the wheelhouse. Like 50 goals for Pasta would be, I think, a really good year. I think 45 goals is probably where he lives. I haven't projected David Pastrnak yet, but I also do think, though, that the addition of Elias Lindholm is a major win for Pasta. I think that, like, Pavel Zacha, he's not even a natural center, and he played with them for most of the year. So now we got a guy, like, I got to watch Lindholm play, especially in the playoffs, and this guy is an amazing two-way center, right? It might not show up for fantasy. He might be a 60 to 70 point player, but his ability to assist the defense, like breaking the puck out of the zone and obviously getting the puck in the hands of Pastrnak and then Zacha, who will probably play on that line. I think, 50 goals for Pasta might be like much more assured this year, as opposed to like kind of what happened last year where Pastrnak was sort of more of a facilitator, which was very interesting to see. So I like the addition of Lindholm there. I think that's going to equal, maybe some an increase in production for this man. Okay. All right, let's get to biz on number 3. So our basically, spoiler alert, our 1, 2, 3 were all the same. We picked Mikko Rantanen there. You got to like Ranto. He's basically, to me, he's one of the safest picks in fantasy. In that first round, like he just does everything really well, and he gets an insane amount of deployment. This guy played just under 23 minutes average time on ice last year. And every time I look at Colorado, like their bottom 6 is still the same players, right? There's nothing that's really going to change here. Like maybe, if Nichushkin was here as well, like that could eat into some time, but he's going to be off for the first little part of the season. And I just don't see why they wouldn't feed 22 minutes a night to Rantanen, McKinnon. It's insane. And his power play deployment, 4 minutes and 36 seconds average time on ice on the power play. So with 40 power play points, I mean, what else can you say about Rantanen, really?
Yeah, agreed. Like I don't really see there being a shift for Colorado this year. They can't really afford to play anyone to share the minutes with anyone else. The depth just isn't there. And Rantanen and McKinnon have shown that they are up for the challenge to perform with crazy amounts of minutes. Mikko Rantanen kind of rounds out the right wing locks for the first round, and all of them are kind of smushed in the middle. Pastrnak and Rantanen are right in that. You're probably taking them 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th in that range. So and I think if any of them fall beyond that, you're pretty stoked about it. So I think Rantanen is you're gonna be pretty happy with him.
Absolutely. And Colorado, just in terms of fantasy, is probably my favorite team. And it's, this is common sense, right? But they are just a purely offensive team, and they play the hell out of their top players, right? So if you're, if you land anybody on that top line, or Cale Makar, or even Devin Taves, like they're playing the crap out of these guys, right? And that team is just pure offense. Defensively, not so much, right? But like they're a wagon offensively. So you got to be happy getting Rantanen in there. And when I did look at him, his IPP and his shooting percentage dipped a bit at 5-on-5. So maybe there's a little bit of headroom there for some positive regression. But one thing about Rantanen, it never feels exciting when you get Rantanen in the first round. You're like, all right, yeah, hockey draft today. Who am I going to get? And you're like, I got Rantanen at 8. And you're like, yeah, all right, that's nice. That's a nice way to start the draft, but maybe I can get some sexier picks later on, but this guy's an absolute stud. And he's super consistent as well. Like he hasn't missed a game, or he missed 2 games in the last 2 seasons. Like he's playing a ton. So I'm big on Ranto. Draft him with confidence. All right. Now we're getting into some other stuff here. The truth is our top 6 were fairly close. There's a few little changes here. But yourself, myself, and Nate agreed that Willie Nylander is the number 4 right winger. Mark Barber had him at number 5. So, like Nylander over Marner. That's kind of an interesting piece there, right? Because, spoiler alert, we have Marner at number 5. So talk to me a little bit about why you would take Nylander over Marner at right wing.
So, for me, it's the goals upside and the shots. Marner is much more likely to hit 100 points than Nylander. I think Nylander has the capability, but he's more likely a 90 to 95 point guy. But he's probably going to score you right around 40 goals. He gets over 300 shots, which is considerably more than Marner. Like Marner, I think you're pretty lucky if you get 200, especially with the way that he's been shooting the last couple seasons. Like his shot
Mhm.
rates have decreased to two of actually the last 2 seasons for Marner are actually he has his lowest shot rates of his career, which
Yep.
is crazy to me. But I think William Nylander is an incredibly exciting player. Last year was just a huge breakout for him. He shows up when it matters, more so than anyone else on this team, and I'm a big fan of him. So he gets the edge for me mainly because of goals upside and shots on goal.
Yep. I don't think I could have said it better myself. That's what we look at here at Apples and Ginos. That's, again, we talk about it a lot, but that's just putting things on your side. This guy gets more shooting, more shots on goal, and he gets more scoring chances, right? And he's obviously like an elite converter as well. This guy's, pretty close to cresting 100 points on a season. So I think, there's a potential he can do that this year. Like, power play points this year was the difference between his, last year and this year. Like he had 87 points in 82 games in 22-23 with 28 power play points. And then this last season, he got 35 power play points, just cooking on the power play. Love that. And he was a little bit, more efficient in other places as well. I did dig in on him just a titch, and I think there is a little bit of headroom at even strength. So maybe just to get him up to 100. I think that is something that is reasonable. What did I project this? What did you project him for, Josh? Do you have your projections there?
I have him for 42 goals, 95 points.
Oh, nice. Yep. No,
Yeah.
I'm in the vicinity. I've got 41 goals, 54 assists. So I've got him for
Okay.
95 points. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I could see it. I could absolutely see him getting 100. That would not shock me whatsoever. So what is your take? Like Nate and I were talking about this. What do you think about sort of just Willie Nylander's general attitude and how that might mesh with the new head coach, Craig Berube?
I just think that Nylander has proven himself in this league to be a guy that's relaxed and it doesn't necessarily look like he's putting in a ton of effort, but it's more his play style. Like
Mm-hmm.
his skating is effortless, so it kind of looks like he's not trying, but he wins battles. Like he wins battles along the boards. Like the narrative about him being a perimeter player and a guy that kind of shies away from contact is not accurate. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you watch him play, he doesn't hit, but he wins puck battles. He's constantly scoring goals from right in front of the net. He drives the net hard on the rush. He's just that narrative is gone now. In my opinion, I just think that he's proven enough that it shouldn't be a concern in terms of the way that those two would mesh. I also don't think that Berube really has the luxury on this team
Yeah.
of not playing William Nylander just because of the lack of forward depth. So as much as like we saw Berube kind of spread the wealth in terms of ice time through his lines at times in St. Louis, but that was more a product of them just not really having superstars
Mm-hmm.
and having like a bunch of pretty good guys. And so it's hard to kind of parse through potential coaching strategies
Yeah.
when the like when the look of the team is so different. Like Toronto's so top heavy and St. Louis was not that. So so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm not too concerned about that though.
Yeah, I love that. And that's, I like what you said about the narrative there. Like that's very much Canadian media, isn't it? Like with hockey, you get these weird stories out of nowhere that get a bit of, steam, and it's like, that's not actually true. Like what are you
Yeah.
saying? Is like people trying to create this story. Cause yeah, whenever I watch Nylander play, it's like this guy's lights out and he always has been. So I'm not too concerned either. And I love, again, the goals and the chances that this guy's generating. Love it. So yeah. So if he's number 4, then Marner is number 5. And I'm excited about Marner this year because he is falling in drafts a little bit. Like I've seen Marner going end of the second round, early third. I've seen a couple spots there. This is a guy that is most likely going to get 100 points again, right? Like this is his revenge tour, right? This guy had a high ankle sprain. I talked about this on the projection show, but like he came back because that's the type of guy he is, and he wants to win, and he sees that the Leafs have a win window here, and he wanted to be a part of that, right? And it just didn't happen, and now he's the scapegoat. What do you think about Marner this year? Do you think 100? He's good for another 100 points, and he's going to maybe smash some of these critics?
Yeah, I mean with Marner, it's hard. Like the gripe with Leafs fans is not necessarily that. Well, I mean, so in some cases it is. It's not necessarily that Marner's bad. It's just that he doesn't show up in big moments, and this, I mean, it there's enough of a sample size now with this core four that just this group maybe doesn't mesh, and doesn't and isn't necessarily conducive to winning in big moments. So it's hard. It's hard for me with Marner. I do. There was a few years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, where his shot rates hit an all-time high. He had the best point pace of his career, and Austin Matthews popped for 60 goals, centering him, and I was really excited about that. Like I felt that was as high as I was on Marner, because he'd always been a pass first guy, but then he started to utilize his shot in a way that kind of made defensemen think a little bit, because they would typically just play the pass because they knew that he was going to try and force it to Austin Matthews. But then once he started shooting it, it was like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was just another option. It freed up a lot more space, and it was a lot more exciting. It kind of gave him a higher ceiling, in my opinion. And then the last few years, he just stopped doing it. He just completely regressed and kind of went back to his pass first mentality. But like you said, I do think that the high ankle sprain was affecting him. That is an aspect that people aren't really considering. High ankle sprains are notorious for keeping people out for long periods of time, but then once they come back, kind of lingering and not and hampering them even when they do return. So I'm curious to see what Marner looks like going into the season, because the vitriol and the controversy in terms of contract and in terms of the fact that everyone thought he was going to be gone and now he's back, it's gonna be venomous, and he's not necessarily a guy that handles scrutiny very well.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, he's in a contract year. So it's an interesting piece with Marner. Like, yeah, if everything's just same old, like, yeah, we got 100-point Marner, no question. But there's a little bit more impact on this season, right? Like, if the Leafs got to get out of the gate pretty hot, I think, and then Marner can, maybe start cooking right up to the playoffs here. But yeah, if they stumble at the gates, like, again, this is your scapegoat. This is where all eyes are going to be. And, I wonder if he does get moved to another team here. Like, I think that's obviously a very real possibility this season, depending on how the Leafs do. So, yeah, something to think about. But in terms of just fantasy production, I think if he does get moved, even, like, this is one of those players that has a gravity. He's not going to get buried in a lineup on another team. If you trade for Mitch Marner or you sign Mitch Marner, it's because you want him to be number one offensive asset on your team, right? So I don't know. I like me some Mitchy Marner, though, especially at the end of the second round. Let's get to biz on that. All right. We got to move on. We got to talk about number 6, our number 6 pick here, which we were all in agreement on. The Sex Panther, Sammy Reinhart. Yes, sir. Oh man, this guy was on a bender last year. Yeah, he put on a lot of Sex Panther. You know what I mean? He must have been wearing it all season. Especially on the power play, so that other players, they couldn't stand the funk of Sex Panther, so they moved away. You get what I'm saying here, Joshy? I don't know. All right. Yeah. But this guy, he got 57 goals last year. I mean, we all know this. This is crazy on an insane shooting percentage, 24.5, right? Which is, a career high. It's crazy stuff. He had 27 power play goals. So everything went right for Sam Reinhart, and he topped it off with a Stanley Cup win. So, yeah, I mean, I think we have to expect regression this year, right, Josh? Like, the question is, like, how much do you think he's going to regress?
Yeah, I mean, there'll definitely be regression in terms of his goals. I don't know that the overall point totals will regress significantly. I have him for 45 goals and 86 points, because he's still going to play on that Panthers power play. He's probably going to play on Barkov's wing, because he kind of ended up being a mainstay there down the stretch last year. I finally got that opportunity after a
Yep.
few years of kind of getting moved all around the lineup. So I'm pretty high on Reinhardt still. He's one of the most efficient power play shooters in the
Yeah.
entire league. It's crazy. Like I think I have him projected for like 25% or 30% shooting percentage on the power play, which is far and above
Yeah.
anyone else that I
It's nuts.
projected, just because it's something that he's done. He's done a number of
Yeah.
times, so it's like there's enough of a sample size to be like, okay, I guess this is just what he does. So yeah, I like Sam Reinhart a lot. It's interesting. I haven't been able to get him in any of my best ball leagues. So I'm curious to see kind of where he goes in drafts
Mhm.
and what his ADP looks like, because I do think that there is there is potential for people to feel like it was smoke and mirrors, and then maybe push him down further than he maybe deserves. But I mean, I don't know. I think he's gonna probably end up being right where he should be.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting take. Yeah, like I think his value is going to be shot this year. Like that's like after this massive season, like 94 points, and you've projected him for 86. I'm almost positive my projection is going to come out to like 85 to 88 points. So he's going to
Yeah.
regress there, and he's not going to get 57 goals again. So it's like I think he's going to get steamed up way more than I'm comfortable taking. Like Sam Reinhart in the third, I'm not loving that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like this is a potential, like if things go poorly, like, in 2022, 23, he had 67 points in 82 games. Right. And that was because his shooting percentage fell off a cliff. Right. And then he just went buck wild the next year. So that's a huge variance. And that's not something I feel super comfortable with. Like, again, I feel very comfortable that this is a point per game player with the ceiling for more, as we obviously saw last year, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be taking the risk on Sam Reinhart this year, but I do think he is still the sixth best right winger here because of his points on the power play and what you talked about, his power play consistency. Like that's not going to change, right? Their power play will look a tiny bit different, right? Because they lost Brandon Montour there in Florida. So we don't know who the point person is going to be. Is it going to be Ekblad? Or are they going to give it to Adam Boqvist? I don't know. Like that Nate mentioned that to me the other day. I was like, would they do that? Oh God, they might. You know what I
Oh,
mean? They gave it to OEL over,
yeah.
Ekblad and Forsling. So, I mean, maybe they signed Boqvist to have a look there. But either way, I feel good about Reinhardt as a point per game player. I think that floor is solid, and I don't see him having another season like he did in 2022, 23. But I'm tempering expectations. So there you go. All right, let's move on. We got to talk about Jesper Bratt. This is the first pick that we have here that we did have some wild difference on here. I
Yeah.
had him as number 7. Nate had him at number 7. Mark had him at number 8. And you, Josh, had him at number 14. So I'd love to hear your take on Jesper Bratt and sort of why you had him a little bit lower than the rest of us.
I gotta be honest. I'm not 100% sure. Like I don't have
You,
a firm opinion
Josh was on a
on
bender when he was making his list. I don't know.
on Jesper Bratt. Like he's gonna be playing. He's gonna get buku minutes. Like I do think the ceiling on him is crazy high. Like I agree with Nate. Like there is a real possibility that he could hit 100 points at some point in his career, maybe even this season. I mean, everything would have to go his way,
Mm-hmm.
and New Jersey would have to have like crazy high percentages across the board
Yep.
at even strength and on the power play. But I mean, I see him. I mean, Sheldon Keefe loves to play his guys. Jesper Bratt's going to be one of those guys. And I do think he's going to produce. There are a few other guys that I'm a little bit higher on, but again, this tier of right wing is I mean, I kind of mentioned it in the centers. A lot of them are fairly interchangeable.
Yeah. Subjective,
So
isn't it?
yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear your argument for Bratt being higher. I just haven't. I again, like Sam Reinhart, you mentioned with Reinhart, you're not super comfortable taking him in the third. I don't know that I'd be comfortable taking Bratt in the fourth or fifth.
Oh
Um,
my. Oh my God. Love
so
this.
or maybe that's the range that maybe that's the range. Maybe it's the fifth. But I haven't got him there. He hasn't kind of kind of floated to the top of my rankings when I'm drafting. So it just hasn't happened. But it doesn't necessarily mean I'm low on the player. So I'd like
Yeah.
to hear your opinion on Brad here.
Yeah, sure. It's just a player I'm massively excited about, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
New Jersey in general, again, it's like, is this the year? We're excited about Jersey again. Yeah, and I think bringing Sheldon Keefe in there, that is really going to shore things up. I think Lindy Ruff was, yeah, he was a little over his head, at times in the season, and just it didn't seem like, yeah, he had the respect of the room or what was going on there. Like, yeah. And obviously the injuries that New Jersey had last year were pretty crippling and terrible goaltending. So they've shored up all those things and they got a new coach in there. So, that's the first thing. I definitely like New Jersey as a team for a bounce back because of the offensive options they have there, starting with Jack Hughes, right? The absolute best rush player in the league. No question. Like, this guy's on an island by himself. And, the second best rush player in the league, Jesper Bratt. He's up there. Like, so, he's not Jack Hughes. There's no question there, right? Jack Hughes brings a different skill set to the table. But the fact is, Bratt is one of the best rush players in the league. And yeah, he plays on that second line there with Nico Hischier, and he had Andre Palat there. So that top six in Jersey is going to be ridiculous. Bratt had, 27 power play points, which is hella nice, right? I mean, and Jack Hughes was injured for a lot of the season, right? So he's doing that, regardless of whether Hughes was on that power play with him. His ice time, I think, has room to go up. Like, he was at 19-18 this last season here. Does Keefe play him up around the 20-minute mark? Like, there could be a little bit of headroom there. And his shooting percentage. That's something I noticed as well. Like, his on-ice shooting percentage was a career high at 5-on-5, but his individual shooting percentage was low. Right. It was one of the lower ones of his career. So I expect a few more goals, and I expect a big team improvement there. So power play points as well. I could see him getting over 30. I think this guy could get 90 points next year, and I wouldn't even bat an eye. Right. And to me, I'm probably targeting Bratt if he's around, like mid to late third. That's where I like Jesper Bratt. And then anything after that, I'm smashing it, right? Because you're getting a right winger that I really do believe has like 90-point potential this upcoming season. So there you go. Plus he shoots. Oh yeah, he's a big time shooter. He's starting to approach that number of 10 shots and goal per 60 5-on-5, which we like to see. So everything's going well. It's a young guy, and he's on a really good young team that's trending upwards. So that's my take on Bratt there. But yeah, I mean, like you said, these guys kind of all mash together, and it's definitely subjective, right? Obviously, like this offseason, I've been looking into rush players. That's who I'm targeting this year. That's just I'm going to be open and upfront with all that. My strategy this year is to pick these guys that are able to create offense on their own, and Jesper Bratt is one of those players. So again, it's just another thing that you can put on your side and hope for some production. Anywho, let's move on to a player that we are all pretty damn excited about, Matt Boldy. All right. I had him at number 8. Nate had him at number 8. And you and Mark both had him as your 10th best right winger. What do you like about him? What do you like about Matt Boldy this year? And do you think that he's going to improve on his last year's point total of 69? Very nice.
Yeah, I have him for 35 goals and 83 points this year. I like Boldy a lot, obviously.
Yep.
He's a guy that's proven that he can create offense without great line mates. But there is potential for him to get some exposure to Kirill Kaprizov. And I think if you're on Minnesota, if you get exposure to Kaprizov, the sky's the limit for your ceiling. Like, that's going to be massive. I just wrote a team preview for the Minnesota Wild last night, and there's a lot about that team, especially at the top end of it, that is really exciting for fantasy.
Yeah.
So Matt Boldy's a big part of it. So yeah, I think if you're being relatively conservative, I still think a point per game is pretty reasonable to expect from Matt Boldy. But I mean, I do think that the sky's the limit for him if he gets locked in on Kaprizov's wing. I just think that I imagine they're going to try and spread the wealth just because there's not a ton of depth on that team. So it's probably more likely he gets exposure to Zuccarello, who he's historically played with more. I'm talking about Kaprizov there. And then Boldy will end up with Eriksson Ek and and Johansson, which isn't as exciting, but the Minnesota Wild power play is crazy. When
We're
you dig
loving
into
it.
the
Yep.
numbers, it's it has the potential to be the best power play in the league. Like, and that's not, I don't think that's an exaggeration. Like, they were first in every statistical category on the power play last year in terms of team stats, and just not conversion. They were 10th in conversion,
Yep.
which is also good. But they have there's room for more. And maybe if Jared Spurgeon comes back, he could be a difference maker on the back end. I'm not sure that I don't think it really matters who is there, just because of how good the four forwards are at creating offense. But yeah, Matt Boldy, I mean, he shoots, he converts, and can create offense on his own regardless of his line mates, and he's probably going to get a ton of power play points this year. That's why I like him.
Yeah, we love Matt Boldy. You know, when I'm hearing you describe Minnesota, it reminds me of Tampa Bay, right? Like, if there's an injury to one of their top guys, this team's going straight down the toilet, right?
Yeah.
Like, they need all those guys to get the business, right? And Boldy being one of them. But their top six is really good. Their power play is amazing. Like you said, it doesn't really matter who's on the back end there when you've got the four players that are on that power play. I do think it's probably going to be Faber, but I mean, we've seen Jared Spurgeon there as well. So either way, I'm excited about Boldy again for the same reasons I'm excited about Brad. I think Boldy's a little bit of he's a little bit of a different profile, but still a really good rush player, controlled zone entries, all that stuff, leading to chances. And then, like you said, I think a really important thing that you talked about was he can do it with cap and he can do it without cap. Right. That's what we're looking at. He's proven that over 2 seasons here. But it's interesting that we're all projecting Boldy to take a big step, right? 69 points this year. Now we're all like 80 points and up. So that's I think we're planting our flag with Matt Boldy here, and I actually feel pretty damn good about it. So this is a guy I've been targeting in pretty much every best ball draft. I've been getting him in the 4th round, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe a little spicy, but we're ranking him as the 8th best right winger here. So yeah, I feel good about that. Let's move on. We got to talk about our number 9 pick, Travis Konechny. So the way he was ranked in our lists, Josh, you were the highest on him. You had him as your 7th best right winger. Nate and I had him at 10, and Mark Barber had him at 11. So, yeah, this guy had a great season, no question. And one thing that I loved when I was digging in on Travis Konechny, maybe loved isn't the right word, but like his power play numbers, ridiculously low. Like, I mean, obviously Philly had the worst power play in the league. They stunk bad. But even so, you would think that Konechny would be able to put up double-digit power play points. He had 9. This guy had 4 power play goals on the season. That's shocking. That makes no sense. I mean, that should clearly regress up, right? I mean, he got 68 points in 76 games. He should have had over 70 last year alone, right? So talk to me about Travis Konechny and why you've ranked him so high, because you did rank him over some other plays that we've just talked about.
Yeah, I've been high on Konechny for quite a few years now, and I've reaped the benefits of drafting him maybe earlier than some other people would have. I do think that he's got the makings of a point per game player perennially. He gets a ton of minutes. John Tortorella clearly loves this guy, and like you said, 9 points on the power play. Like, how is that even possible? I mean, obviously we're the worst converting power play in the league. They had an 8% shooting percentage on the power
Just
play,
ugly.
which is insane. Like that's like you couldn't even. It's like hard to do that if you tried not to score. Like it's crazy. So I like there has to be some positive regression. Like maybe I don't know, maybe they end up the 25th ranked power play in the league, but then maybe Konechny gets, I don't know, 15 power play points. You know what I mean? Like I think it was Corey Schneider on Twitter yesterday that said he had never seen Travis Konechny had more shorthanded goals than power play goals last year, and he's like, I don't know that I've ever seen that before. So
that's wild stuff.
It's crazy. So I do think the one factor with the Philadelphia power play is Matvei Michkov is coming into the fold. A little bit of an unknown because he's a rookie, but he is one of the most highly touted prospects in the league, and I expect him to make an impact right off the bat. Now, Will he mesh with Tortorella? Will he get a ton of
Mhm.
minutes? I
Mhm.
don't expect
Does
him to,
anybody?
just because of the way that Tortorella coaches. But if he gets played on the power play, he could be a major difference maker there. So I do think that this team has offensive weapons that can do something. That can have a better than a 32nd ranked power play in the league. To me, Konechny has that nice floor that he showed us last year. Obviously, some of the percentages were high, but if that power play gets any better, I
Mhm.
think he's going to be a smash.
Yeah, I'm excited about connecting this year as well. Like, one of the things though too that I think is going to cap Konechny is his line mates, right? Like his numbers, they pop off the page when you look at just the offense that he's generating, chance assists, shot assists. Like he's elite in that. He's like the 98th percentile in the entire league. Not to mention like he's great at actual shot and chance generation himself, right? But he's playing with Sean Couturier and Tyson Forster. You know what I mean? It's like he's relied on to do everything on that line and create all the offense, right? So, I mean, the fact that he was able to do what he was at even strength is pretty damn nice. So, I just wonder that I don't feel like there's much more ceiling at 5-on-5 unless he gets a better line mate there. But I love that you brought up Mishkov because I definitely think that Mishkov is going to get at the very least power play one treatment there in Philly, and that should raise the floor of everybody out there, right? Because
Yeah.
Philly, they overachieved massively. They outplayed their environment last year. Torts had him cooking. He had him cooking really well, but the problem is they don't have any talent, right? So
Yeah.
that's really the problem, right? So now we've got talent in here with Mitchkov, so that's not going to hurt them. It's going to help them, and just get into double digits on your power play points, Konechny. And I think, we're looking at a 75, 80 point, maybe Konechny if things go really well, like as a ceiling. So I like this pick a lot. Plus, he does a lot of stuff for category leagues as well, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Let's round out our top 10 here. And at number 10, we came out with Adrian Kempe. I averaged all our scores. I had him as my 11th best right winger. Josh, you had him at 13. Nate had him at 9. And Mark had him at 12. So Nate was the only one putting Kempe in his top 10. And I guess he got his way. He's number 10 here. So that's fine. Shout out to Nate. Kempe, he had a great year, right? He had great power play points, but he was surprisingly inefficient in the goal scoring department there on the power play, I mean, maybe they started changing their power play format, or they were prioritizing other players, or he was just had bad luck. I don't know. So I definitely think there's a bit of a regression coming there, but I don't know. I think we have to keep an eye on some age related decline for his center, Kopitar, right? Like this is a guy that's, he has been declining, but the on ice numbers are still good. He's still, converting at a high rate. But I mean, one of the things that I've looked into this offseason is just looking at even the Dallas Stars and what happened with players like Jason Robertson and Rupe Hintz with the access to Pavelski, right? Pavelski truly had some age-related decline there, and his line sagged throughout the season, right? And they started prioritizing the middle six a lot more. And I'm not putting that on Joe Pavelski, but I mean, it's a big piece, right? And if Kopitar eventually does kind of, you know, lose some of that magic that he's had the last couple of years here, I mean, that's going to affect his line mates. So talk to me a little bit about Adrian Kempe. I mean, you had him at 13. What do you like about Kempe this year, and what are your expectations?
Yeah, I think I mean I have him for 35 goals, 36 assists, 70 points. He gets a ton of shots and he gets hits. There's a nice
Yep.
peripheral floor
Yeah.
there for Kempe. He's the best winger on that team. Like he's really the only guy on the wing that I think you can count on to score consistently. Outside of maybe Kevin Fiala, but I do think that he's a mainstay on power play one. That's not going to change. And I mean, there is potential. Like if they do kind of move Byfield into the 1C position, and you see that age related decline with Anze Kopitar, I think it's pretty likely that you see Kempe playing with Byfield as opposed to Kopitar, and you just move Kopi down the lineup, and that's really exciting. Like he played with
Yeah.
Byfield for a good chunk of the year last year, just because Byfield was on the wing. Um, And I think that could be a match made in heaven. A couple big bodies, a couple cycle guys. So I like Kempe. I know I had him ranked lower than everyone else, but it's not. I mean, I'm still pretty high on him.
Yep, absolutely. I love it. Yeah, just a solid player, a great player you could get in the 5th or 6th round. And his floor is really solid. So I like that. That's our top 10 for points. We're 49 minutes into the pod, Joshy. Yeah, God, I can't stop this. All right. We try for an hour and this is what happens. So
it's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. I'm still a good person, and so are you. All right. But I did want to mention I've got 4 honorable mentions here. We're not going to go into those, but if you had to pick one of these players, Josh, who would you pick for your honorable mention? I'll mention them first here. So we got Clayton Keller, Jordan Kyrou, Alex Tuck, or Kevin Fiala. Which one of those are you taking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm higher on Kyrou than I think any of you guys are this year. I like the potential of that St. Louis top line kind of reaching high efficiency. I do think Kyrou is going to play a ton of minutes this year and has 40 goal potential. What do I have him for? Like, I have him for a crazy high number, and I think I probably need to dial back the on ice shooting percentage at 5v5. But I actually have him for 36 goals and 83 points, which I know is significantly higher than what you guys had. But I'm high on those top 3 guys in St. Louis. The rest of the team, not so much.
Yeah.
I think they're extremely top heavy, but that top line has been notoriously efficient. Robert Thomas really broke out last year, but he's shown that he can be super efficient even though he doesn't shoot a ton. Buchnevich has been a really efficient guy over the years. Last year, not so much, but I could see him bouncing back. And then Kyrou, I think, I mean, there was some tumultuous times last year.
Yep.
Him and Berube, it seemed like they maybe didn't get along very well. And then they fired the coach, and then there was an adjustment there. I just think a little bit more consistency there for Kyrou is going to do him a lot of good. So I mean, it's close with all these guys. I do like Alex Tuck as well for a bounce back. He's probably right in the same area for me, but Kyrou is a guy that I've found myself taking in a lot of my best ball drafts.
Yep, for sure. I mean, I love all those players that we mentioned. Like, I would happily have any of them on my team at value for sure. And of those 4 mentioned, Keller, Kyrou, Tuck, and Fiala, I think Kyrou and Tuck are the value plays. Like Kyrou, you can get later on. Like I might have some Kyrou this year because I'm a big fan of the player. If I had to choose someone in St. Louis, it would be Kyrou because of the shot and chance generation. But also, again, he's the one leading the rush. He's the one. Driving that offense for his line, right? My concern with Kyrou is really just ice time and because he's seen time on the second line and sometimes on the second power play like that, and that was a lot of that was under Berube, but Bannister wasn't the biggest Kyrou booster ever. So St. Louis is just a team in general I'm probably not going to be in on this year, but Kyrou is definitely awesome. I like Clayton Keller of that bunch. I think Keller is the one that I'm most excited about there. I do think he has point per game potential, a really good pathway to point per game potential. And he plays a ton of minutes, right? Like in 2022-23, he played 20 minutes, 45 seconds average time on ice. Last year, 19-15, so that did go down, but 30 points on the power play. Love that. I just think this player's floor is extremely solid. And Utah is on the come up. I think when Nate and I did our projection show on Utah, I was just talking myself into some of these Utah players. And I think Keller is just the most exciting of the bunch. And I think he kind of gets lost a little bit. Right. It's not like, oh, I'm so excited to go draft Clayton Keller. I feel like his name value isn't really maybe where it should be. And he's potentially not being valued as such. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents there. I don't know. You got anything on Keller?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty high on him as well. I think that Utah is going to be fun this year. They're
Absolutely.
be a lot of fun. Drew Bannister, you mentioned him. I just realized recently he's from Belleville. Had no idea. I was just looking up his hockey DB randomly one day, and I was like, hold on a second. That's crazy. So yeah, another Belleville boy along with all the rats.
There you go.
Nick Cousins is actually has his day with the cup, and he's gonna be here next Tuesday. So I might go see him and say hi. But
That's
yeah,
sick.
we'll see what happens. Yeah, it's pretty much unanimously all the guys from Belleville are rats. You got
Just
Matt Cook,
dingleberries. Yep.
you got Nick Cousins, you got Andrew Shaw, you got Mark Crawford, who's kind of known to be a dingus.
Oh yeah, absolute dingus. Yeah.
So
Buddy, that's a nice little stable right there. I mean,
yeah,
these are all guys you want on your team, right? Nick
I
Cousins,
suppose.
remember that crap he pulled with Eric Goodbranson last year?
Yeah,
It was like one of the games I was actually watching with my son, and they start getting into it, and Goodbranson gets run from behind by Cousins, and then Cousins just throwing up his hands like, "What? What did I do?" And
yeah,
Goodbranson comes up and tries to basically decapitate the man, and then
yeah.
takes a
Falls down
penalty,
like he
comes
was
out.
dead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that too. But and then when he saw it was Cousins, he's like, "Oh, okay." And yeah,
yeah.
I like watching players like that as long as they aren't playing against my team. I'm like, yeah, this is hilarious. Like Nick Cousins, hell yeah, go visit that man. I think he just got a new agent too, so he's trying to figure out what the
I
heck
heard
they're
that.
doing.
Yeah, that's another guy I played ball hockey against back in the day. He's a little bit younger than me, but we were in the similar age groups a lot of the time.
Damn, oh, you're playing with
Yeah.
Nick Cousins. All right, you and me got to get a little one-on-one, little or maybe a little 3-on-3.
Well,
Oh, let's
I
get some
mean,
boys together.
he would have made me look like a complete asshole, but
Okay. And he probably would have ran you from behind too. So that's fine.
probably, yeah.
He does
Yeah.
that. But shout out to Nick Cousins. This is the most he's been talked about in a fantasy hockey podcast, I think, ever. So we're proud. You know what? If you do see him, see if you can get a shout out for the pod. Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
excellent.
yeah, I'll try.
We'll make him the poster boy. All right. 56 minutes in, we are going to run through our category league top 10. We don't need to go too much into it because we've talked about their offensive production of these players. And to be honest, they're very similar, right? And we had this conversation with our top 10 centers for Cats leagues as well. And I think we're all in pretty much agreement that we still prioritize offense over these peripheral stats, right? And that's kind of what happened here with this right wing list. So I am going to rock through some of this here. The top 6 again, pretty standard, very close to what we had in our points league as well. So at number 1, we had Kucherov, no question there for all the same reasons. Kucherov peripherally, I mean, you're getting power play points, right? That's really the key there. I mean, 50 power play points. There's only 3 players in the league that are doing that. And so, yeah, you're definitely getting some value over replacement there with Kucherov. Hits and blocks, nothing crazy. I mean, in 2022-23, he had 61 hits. Thank you. I mean, that's nice. I don't know, but that's not why you're drafting Kucherov. So I feel fine there. Pasternak, though, this guy bangs, doesn't he, Josh?
Yeah, he does. More than you would expect, but I mean, he's a Boston Bruin, so maybe you should be expecting that.
Yeah, there you go. It's in their DNA. But again, so Pasta, we've got at number 2. 70 hits last year, 20 blocks. He's not expected to block, but the 70 hits is nice. And then goals and power play points and shots, right? This guy's a category beast. So we're loving Pasta there. Rantanen goes at 3. Again, unanimous between all of us. Like, it's just, again, super safe in any format. And again, we talked about Cats leagues with centers. This guy gets an insane amount of ice time, more ice time than anyone else on this list. So in category leagues, you want to accrue those stats, and to get those stats, you have to be out on the ice. And Rantanen is leading this top 10 by a country mile. So yeah, 40 power play points, 52 hits, 52 blocks, really nice stuff. Next one was Willie Nylander. So talk to me about Willie Nylander, like in category leagues, Josh, like, because I think it's certainly like you could have the conversation Nylander versus Marner in a points league, and that's a little closer. But to me, Nylander is much better in a category league than Marner. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And that's mainly, I mean, similar to to why I ranked him higher in the points league. But it's goals, which are way more valuable. He's going to probably get 40 goals. Marner might get 30. And then shots, like he's going to get over 300 shots. He's done it for the last couple of years. And Marner, it's not even close. Like he doesn't come anywhere close. Their power play points will be similar, but both of them are good power play players. They'll be fairly similar, but that's why he gets the edge over Marner here.
Yep, it's a no-brainer to me. And then we do have Marner at 5. Mark Barber actually had him at 6, and he had Sam Reinhart at 5. So I can understand that argument as well. I mean, we don't need to talk too much on Marner. Again, you're drafting him here as your 5th best right winger in category leagues because of the chance he could get 100 points and the power play points, right? That's invaluable. You can't find that later on in your draft. So to lock up those categories right there with Marner makes a lot of sense. But then digging in on Sam Reinhart, pretty nice peripheral floor on this guy as well. Like obviously the power play goals is elite, 27 last year. I do think like last year was an outlier big time. But if you look at the 3 seasons before that, he had 10 goals, then 16 goals, then 16 goals on the power play. So that's still very good, like upper echelon of the league. And now he has 27 power play goals in the wheelhouse. So I think if we see 15 to 20 power play goals next year, it makes absolute sense. So you're locking that category up. And he does stuff shorthanded. 4 shorties for Sam Reinhart last year. So I really like that. And then 78 hits and 71 blocks for this guy. Like what more do you need, right? And he's getting a ton of minutes. He finally is getting deployed the way that I wanted him to be deployed in 22-23. Do you remember that a couple years ago? It was like him, Sam Bennett, and Carter Verhaeghe were all sort of eating into each other's minutes, and you didn't really know who was going to get power play 1. Well, they figured that out real quick, and Sam Reinhart got all the minutes and, played over 20 minutes average time on ice last season. So I'm just a big fan of the player in category leagues, and it makes total sense. Are you with me on this one, Josh?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, like you said, there is a peripheral floor there. It's not massive, but it's solid, but it's really the power play points and the goals that I'm a big fan of there for Sam Reinhart.
Yep, absolutely. And then, this is where it starts to get a little wacky in our list here, starting at number 7. We, as a group, had Adrian Kempe as our number 7 pick. So Nate and I had Kempe at number 7, or actually we all did. Sorry, besides you, Josh. So myself, Nate, and Mark had Kempe at 7. Josh, you just tooting in Kempe's face. You gave him a ranking of 12. Explain yourself, Josh. What do you think about Kempe in Cats leagues, and why are you dropping him a little lower like that?
I mean, I like him in Cats leagues. Don't get me wrong. Again, like I'm not saying that he's bad. But for me, the point ceiling is lower than a lot of these other guys that I have in the same echelon. He does hit, he does shoot. The other thing is, I really weight power play points more than almost any other category here, and his power play ceiling I don't think is extremely high. I mean, at least compared to these other guys, he'll probably get 20 power play points. But I mean, compared to these other guys that are getting 30, and I think I'm moving him down the list. He gets his value takes a hit for me in that category as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still do like Kempe, but yeah, it's really the point ceiling that's low and the power play points that I'm not confident about.
Yep. No, I hear you there. I mean, I'll hear that argument all day, right? It makes total sense. And like, it's kind of a comfort level where you're at with, the way that we all like to draft. But I do think that Kempe's power play points, like he's kind of hit a new echelon there. Like he had 27 last year. Right. So I feel like, 25 is probably reasonable, 20 to 25. Sure. And I think like we talked about his conversion on the power play, really stinky. Right. And just his shooting percentage in general. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Right. Like he had the lowest shooting percentage in the last 3 years at 11.4%. So I think some more goals are coming. And the reason Kempe boosts up on mine is because of those goals. So kind of similar to what you were saying about Nylander. He's like a much lesser version to me. It's like goals and, I think power play points are there. And then the hits, right? Like 113 this year, 119 the year before, 111 the year previous. Like this guy's a beefer with cheese. So we like some Adrian Kempe. Josh, not so much. All right. He's got a problem with Adrian Kempe, and that's fine. But all right, let's move on. At number 8, we have as a group, Matt Boldy. I had him at number as my 11th best in the category league. Josh, you had him at 8. Nate had him at 9, and Mark didn't rank him in his, so I just took him out of the equation there. But talk to me about Matt Boldy. Like he was just outside my top 10. Obviously, we know what we like about Boldy there. Why does a player like Boldy go over Kempe for you?
I mean, he's kind of the opposite of Adrian Kempe in that his point ceiling is very high. Like I think I feel like he could hit point per game this year. If he's with Kaprizov, he could even get more than that. And then just that Minnesota power play is so tantalizing.
You're loving the power play there.
I just think that the potential ceiling on power play points is really high for Matt Boldy. So And I value that more than almost anything else. So, and then gets the shots, and then obviously the hits and blocks are not there for Boldy, but those are the easiest to supplement. Like I do like to have a peripheral floor
It's
for
hard to
some of
say.
these guys, but I think that those are those categories are the ones that I weight the lowest. So I think that Matt Boldy is still a smash despite not being a banger.
Yep, I'm excited about it. I mean, obviously I had him at 11, but yeah, if you're picking him, you're kind of going a different way. You're prioritizing offense, and I agree with you what you said about the power play there. Like, I'm excited about that too. I think he has the potential of getting 30 power play points. Right, he could do that. He could absolutely do that. So that's a nice piece to prioritize. Yeah, I think I'm happy with Boldy there. Let's look at our number 9 pick. It's one of your favorites, which you actually ranked a little bit lower. Oh my God. So yeah, Travis Konechny is our number 9. I had him as my 8th best. Nate and Mark had him as their 10th best. And Joshy, you had him as your 11th. You had him at 7 in points and 11th in category leagues. Explain yourself, Josh. What are you
I
doing?
know it doesn't make sense, does it? But no, it's the power play points. It's
Yeah.
like I just can't get past that. He does get about a hit per game, which is nice. Like he's a nice he's a guy that I considered to have a nice peripheral floor. Not like amazing in any one category, but he kind of does a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But the power play points are gonna hurt a little bit, and I know I said that there's probably going to be a turnaround a little bit for the Philly power play, but not enough to
Yeah.
make me to make me rank him much higher than this. Like I think there's certainly an argument, and it really all depends on what you need at that point of the draft. But I mean, I still love Konechny. He's one of my boys.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I like that you're being consistent too. Like that makes sense. Like your list makes sense the way you're describing it. So
Yeah.
I definitely appreciate that. One thing, I mean, to me, when I'm looking at ranking these category guys, it's like, who's giving me the best cross category coverage, right? Like the top guys that, the top 5, like, yeah, they're all offensive guys that we're liking, right? And we're drafting them for offense. But the bottom 5 to me, it's like, yeah, I am looking for that peripheral floor a little bit. And Konechny brings that in spades, not to mention six shorthanded points, like 5 shorthanded goals. That's massive. And that's something that, he's done for a couple seasons now. They love playing him out on the penalty kill, and Torts is giving him free reign to get out there and do stuff. So I like that. But I absolutely agree with you with his power play points regression. Like he had 9 last year. I could see 15 next year. I don't think we're getting, we're not getting anywhere up there. And I do think it's a really important thing to again, just implore our listeners, like power play points is a really difficult category to cover. Right. So if I'm with you and I understand the reasoning, right? Like that's sort of how I draft in every league. Like right at the top, I'm like, give me the best power play performers. And when I'm down in like the 8th or 9th or 10th round, I'm like, who's the best power play guy left still? Like, okay. And then I'm starting to look through there and see who I'm interested in. So to your point, Travis Konechny, stinky power play numbers, and it's probably not going to get much better next year. Okay. All right. Let's move on. What are we doing here? What number was I at there?
I think we're at number 10.
Number 10. Oh, right. Okay. And our last one in the category league. Sorry, I had my points league up. I was like, did I just read the points league right wingers again? That's great podcasting. But no, I'm correct. We're at number 10 and we're looking at Owen, just the tip it just for a second at number 10. And I would love to rank this guy higher because I know you're a big Owen Tippett guy. I'm a big Owen Tippett guy. I haven't projected, or I have projected Owen Tippett, but when I did the projection, like I had to stop myself from being biased. Like, oh, he's really going to pop off. He's going to start being more, or he's going to convert a lot more. But the truth is, like, Owen Tippett is a chucker. All right. He just chucks pucks with the best of them. He's an amazing skater. But in category leagues, like talk to me about Tippett and why he's cracking our top 10 here.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about me being consistent in my rankings, and this is where it's the consistency kind of dies.
But this is your 10 though, and this guy's a beaver.
Yeah, well, he was my 7, so that's where it's a little bit. I was kind of pulling him up the ranks a little bit, but he, I mean, this guy shoots the lights out, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, and he is a chucker, but he's an elite chucker. He's getting, like, I have him for almost 300 shots this year.
Love that.
Um, so I like that a lot. Also hits a ton. I have him for 135. So that's also pretty massive. I think the conversion, I don't know. Like, I think he's probably like a 10.5% shooter. This guy just has the makings of like a, I'm trying to quantify it because I want to say a Brady Kachuk light, but it's not quite there. Like, he's not an elite offensive player.
Yep.
But they're just the manner in which he does things is kind of similar. He's going to be a low percentage shooter, but he's going to shoot a lot. He's going to hit a ton. But I think that his ceiling's probably 65 points.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that that's attainable. I especially if he's a mainstay on the power play. I think there's a really good chance that he plays with Matvei Mishkov this year, 5v5 and on the power play. So that could be huge for Owen Tippett. And I do have that baked into my projections a little bit, which is part of why he's a little bit higher than I have him a little bit higher than you guys probably do. But yeah, no, I just feel like he's he's gonna be awesome this year, and maybe it's a little bit of a hot take. I'm probably a little higher on him than I should be, but
we're
okay.
together on it, buddy. Yeah, I'm. This guy is just a guy that I want to do well. Everything under the hood is looking good, right? Like on the season, he was 6th overall in shots on goal per 60, 6th. He was 5th overall in chucking pucks per 60. Right. So he does that. These are elite numbers, right? And not terrible. Like he was 33rd in individual scoring chances for as well. He just can't score. Right. And again, like it's kind of that Travis Konecny thing. Like there's not that many good players on this team. So, he's kind of has to do it himself. Like, people aren't finding him in the doorstep for tap-ins, right? He's driving the puck in wide, taking it to the net, like difficult chances, high danger chances that he's sort of creating on his own. So, anyways, I love Owen Tippett and I projected him for 63. I think, that feels okay to me. Like, obviously we're thinking that he's going to take a step and he's going to need some ice time to do that. He's going to need some opportunity from Torts, and we're going to need Matvei Mishkov to be for real. Right. And I think there's a really good chance that he will be. Like, he's being talked about the same way Connor Bedard was talked about last year. And we saw what he was able to do. Right. So I think, if Mishkov can come in here and pop for like 50 points, 55 points, that's enough. Right. That's enough. Like with his skill level, right. He's going to make his teammates better. Right. And if he does end up playing with Tippett or whoever he ends up playing with, even on the power play, like that's, the rising tide is going to float all boats there. So I think Tippett's got a good shot at beating his 53-point career high. So there you go. Buddy, before I let you go, we got a couple honorable mentions here. I got to talk to you about one of your picks here. And I don't remember what number it is, but you had the Zucchini Man, Mats Zuccarello, in your top 10 right wingers for category leagues. I need to hear the reasoning behind this, and I'm here for it, by the way. So this is not a judgment.
Yeah, I think it's probably mainly because of my soft spot for the Minnesota power play, and we've talked about that a little bit when we've talked about Matt Boldy. But I have him just getting like an insane amount of power play points, like 38 power play points, I believe I have him projected for. And then if he plays on the wing with Kaprizov, like, I mean, and I truly could see that happening just because they don't really have the luxury of having a lot of offensive depth. I think I mentioned that earlier. So I could see him playing on the top line still this year, and I mean that puts him in like the 75 to 80 point category for me. So he's getting older, and certainly like I mean he is kind of like one of those ageless wonders a little bit. Like I don't know how he's still in the league, but But as long as he's getting that Kaprizov exposure and playing on that stupidly good power play, I'm pretty stoked on him. Yeah, it's probably a little higher than he should. I probably had him a little higher than he should be, but I think he should be on your radar for sure. Like I don't think he gets enough
value,
respect in
big
bigger
time.
stats leagues.
Yeah, well, in all formats. Like this is a guy that who's out there targeting Mats Zuccarello? Like nobody.
Yeah.
But when my projection came out on Mats Zuccarello, like I project him for 69 points. Right?
Yeah.
Nice. Like with 32 power play points though. Like you can't, if he has access to that power play, which he did all year, it's like a lock. You know what I mean? Like 32 power play points for this guy, right? So, and you can pick him up for a song. You could probably pick him up like well after pick 100, maybe after pick 120. Matt Zuccarello sitting there staring you in the face, right? But yeah, I don't know about the top 10 there, Joshy, but you know, you're still a good person. And if he smashes, I will, you know what? I'll get a Matt Zuccarello tattoo. All right. I'll tell you that right now. If he hits your projection, I'm getting a Zucchini Man tattoo.
That's happening. Tattoo. Yeah, exactly.
That's happening right now. And I'm putting that out there in the ether so that, you know, hold me accountable for this. All right. Awesome. But that's it, buddy. That was really fun. We shaved 3 minutes off of our last episode, and that feels good. I could probably fill that with a bunch of time right now, but I'm not going to. We've got more positional rankings coming up for you. We'll do left wingers next, then defensemen, and yeah, we've got some special stuff on goalies here. Nate's basically just gonna, you know, read an essay that he wrote. You know, it's like a 3-hour essay.
About how goalies stink.
Yeah, he's got some hatred for the goalies, and that's fine. But yeah, we'll get back to that. We've also got Nate and I are doing our projection shows, so we'll be releasing those. And also I still have the Central Division 8 players of interest to do. I've got so much stuff on my plate right now, man. I've got episodes that need to be done. I've got, you know, articles I need to write, but I love this. Things are starting to pop off here at Apples and Ginos, and I'm here for it. We're getting to biz. So thanks for listening, everybody. Joshy, what do you have to say for yourself?
It's been fun, buddy. This series has been fun. I'd love to hop on with you for the left wings as well.
Yeah, let's make it happen. Josh is going to be with me for that. All right. That's my promise to you folks. But thank you so much for listening, everyone. Really appreciate your time. Celebrate your day. Bye for now.